Hey, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to office hours for Korean natural farming. Let's see, July 30th. July, almost end of the month here. That means my birthday must have just happened. Woo, yay. Um, yeah, so switching it up slightly in terms of using a slightly different technology today. So I hope everyone can hear and everyone's tuned in and volume's good. If it's not, let me know. I can turn it up a bit. Hey, thanks. Yeah. Happy birthday to me too. Yeah, it was fun. Did some good stuff. Okay, well, let's see. Start off with a little bit of higher wisdom for today before we get into it. So today, how fitting, how fitting. Um, Fellowship with others. In fellowship with others, embody the principles of the sage. This hexagram addresses the proper basis for relationships with others. It generally comes as a sign that some kind of self correction is in order in this arena. Proper relationships, whether in love, work, family, or friendship, must be founded on and conducted on proper principles in order to succeed. Our model for how to behave with others is the sage. In relating, we are obliged to practice kindness, humility, correctness, equanimity, and openness. Wherever we depart from these, we lose the aid of the higher power and risk an encounter with misfortune. The fundamental rule of the I Ching for the conduct of relationships is that they take place in the open. This means that every facet of a relationship should be seen as fair and correct by everyone concerned, not just yourself. It also means it's improper to continue in a relationship with unspoken reservations or hidden intentions. Exceptional things can be accomplished by those who come together correctly in fellowship now under the guidance of an enlightened leader or leaders. Seek that role by patterning yourself after the sage. Meet others halfway in a spirit of sincerity and receptivity. Give trust where it is due. Where it is not, do not resort to harshness, reserve, and reticence are adequate measures. Avoid the formation of factions and cliques, and correct your errors in relationships as soon as you become aware of them. In this way, you can accomplish magnificent deeds now. So cool. That's good. I've been trying to establish better fellowship. You know, doing the right thing, fellowship with others. And yeah, that's what are you up to each day? It's like trying to build better relationships, right? Trying to build better things. Trying to host a better office hour. Yeah. So it's good to see everyone here. We got folks from Seattle. What's up, Rainbow Possum? Sue, I think from Brazil. Yeah, he's telling me he's into stuff with Pedro. Got Cyclopath from Belgium. Wow, Belgium. Stonemason from the Indiana, and Goofman always up in New York. Let's see, I raise my chair up a little bit too. Oh. Matthew from Fresno, California. Fresno, that's where my dad was born, in Fresno. Been through there a few times, seen those oil wells pumping. doing their thing. He said it used to be like orchards back in the day when he grew up, but now I think it's cities. Although there's still a lot of fields out there, right? Yeah. So hey, thanks. What's up, George? And yeah, and Ishmael's Daniel in the house. What's up, Ishmael? Let's see here. We got I'm gonna just see because I was going to talk with Tinfoil Hat Scholar here. So I asked last week if anyone wanted to jump in on the office hours and be part of the conversation, kind of expand these things out, create a little bit more fellowship with others. And Joseph jumped in here and put up, he had suggested some great topics to talk about and a bunch of things. But not sure where he is. I thought he would, I sent him the link to get into here. Oh man, it's funny because, you know, but not sure exactly where he's at. So if he doesn't jump in here in a few minutes, I can just put the chat there, the link it to the chat, and whoever wants to jump in can, because we'll generate some fellowship with others. Did not want to archive that. I just wanted to send that. Sometimes this thing does it all. So I'm not sure if he's doing it, but I did want to talk about, he was mentioning Alan Savory, which is something I've been getting into. I've had, been doing a bunch of regenerative agriculture here via the cows. Instead of, I've been mowing for a while, mow, get everything down. In the tropics, things grow so fast, you got to mow like at least once a month, if not every other week, to try and get in there. What's up, Tanzania in the house? He was also mentioning, he lives out in the desert, right? Right. He's out in Taos, New Mexico. And so his, one of his things is really about trying to regenerate the forests. And I think everyone, I don't know, show of hands in the chat who's into regenerating the earth and regenerating forests and those things, right? Yeah, and if you got salty soil with high pH, is it advisable to use JMS in the area? So yeah, if you have, whatever soil you have, whether it's good, it's bad, creating disgustingly cheap microbes, the Jadam Microbes solution, yeah, is the way to, you're just going to put more life in the soil, and then the microbes are going to go into the soil and try to make things better. So yeah. See, and I was talking to him about John Liu. You guys familiar with John Liu, the Loess Plateau guy? He's kind of this Chinese guy that's that did this huge regenerative project in the Loess Plateau in China, which was just basically turning into this arid desert from overgrazing from goats that weren't managed very well. So they convinced all the people to put the goats into captivity, and then go out there and terrace the thing, and then plant all these plants and slow the water down. And if you look it up, which I can't screen share because I put it on this because I'm in using Streamyard. You can see it up in the upper corner up there, right above Master Cho and the Pure KNF logo. But I'm using Streamyard and I haven't figured it out of screen sharing. I mean, I probably could, but then who knows what's going to happen. So anyway, I'd screen share a little bit, but yeah. So it looks like Rainbow Possum, Goof, Daniel, Cyclopath, you guys are all, and Stone Mason Ben, all into regenerative ag, and the Goof Man, nice arrows up. So not sure. I'm gonna give him one more minute to jump in. If he's not, I'm just gonna post this link and whoever because I really want to talk about this. He was talking about course on redox with Oliver Hassan on John Kemp's platform. He was talking about Gaia theory, Lynn Margulies, Mei Wan Ho for biology, and the neo-Darwinism paradigm. I don't know, all these cool things. Ray Archuleta, a huge guy. He used to be, I think he passed away. Did he? I don't know. Maybe Ray's not dead, but he was huge in NRCS, getting the soils, all showing all those things. Gabe Brown, I've met him, talked to him about what if we could polycrop without polycultures, just trick the soil into thinking it's polyculture via natural farming. He's talking about Rudy Garcia, Alejandro Caroleo. So all these great people I was looking forward to talking with, but if you don't get here on time. So I'm going to take this link and just post it in the comments here, and I don't know, maybe create some fellowship with others. So if you want to jump in, click that link and it will take you to the thing, and you'll pop into this thing, and then I can put you in the thing, and then we could talk about stuff. Unfortunately, it would have been nice if we had talked about stuff ahead of time to know what topics to dive into. But I think if you jump in, we can just talk about what's going on in your area and how those things, how KNF's affecting what you got up to. So that little StreamYard chat that I threw in there, I'll just show it on the screen right now. It's this one. So just type that sucker in. StreamYard's kind of cool. You can do a few different things like that right there. But on the whole, I'm, oh man, check this out. In the meantime, Ben's about to go fishing. Hey, what's up, Willie? How you, man? So let's see if we can grab some fellowship with others. Who's brave enough? Who wants to jump in? Show yourself to the world here. It's pretty easy with StreamYard. You just need a camera and a mic, and then I can put you into here. But and then yeah. So other than that, JMS the world, disgustingly cheap microbes for the win. Put them everywhere. Make them happen. Do the right thing for the earth. Spread microbes every day. So I don't know if is the link working for you guys? This link right here, it's working for you guys? I don't know. Maybe no one wants to jump in. I know lots of folks sometimes are shy, but it's actually one of the things I've been doing is, because I was not shy, I was able to organize this whole Korean natural farming group and get all this stuff together. If you're shy, it's okay. You can just get in. What does these things do? Extra camera, slides, video file. Oh, I can share a screen right there. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, I gotta open all this. I'm not gonna do that right now because there are too many things. Yeah. So anyway, if anyone wants to jump in, please, somebody save me. Willie, what's up? Okay, we'll get Willie on the stream. What's up, Willie? How you, man? I can't hear you. Let's see. We'll get you in here, though. Don't worry, man. Edit your mic settings. Mic volume. Looks like you're already there.
What about now?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up,
right.
man? Hey, it's kind of apropos that you jumped in because I don't know if you can see my shirt. Maybe it's not. But This, do you know? So you see what's on that tractor? I'll just give you a hint. It's a sheep.
Oh, I was going to think it was a pig.
Yeah. So do you know where this shirt came from?
Obviously from our country.
Yeah, it's from New Zealand. My friend, actually my mom and dad went down to New Zealand couple years ago, and they brought me back this shirt of the sheep driving the tractor because I hear that down in New Zealand that's like a common thing. They used to have just tons and tons of sheep. Is that right?
We still do.
You still do. Still do. That's good. That's good. So yeah, so it's having this here, the agriculture, regenerating the land down there. How's that going for you?
I think there's a few people that are really heading in that direction. I suppose it's been a whole new shift from traditional agriculture to looking at a more natural way of farming in New Zealand. That's my emphasis anyway.
So what would that mean? Like
To be honest,
before they were kind of just like running sheep on land, and now they're shifting to like what's the difference now?
oh, no, in terms of livestock, there hasn't been truly any changes. To be honest, people are still farming the old way. When I say old way, it's traditional way of agriculture. I noticed traveling through the country that there has been a lot of dead land, so to speak. They've fertilized it so much that there's actually no grass in quite a lot of spaces around New Zealand. So there's yet to be any transition into natural farming from what I've seen or observed. Is if it's dairy, if it's sheep, it wouldn't matter what type of livestock it is. They're so entrenched in traditional agriculture.
So I mean, isn't that the irony of all this, that people have basically fertilized their land so much that now it's infertile?
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, as you know, we have three sort of islands in New Zealand. There's a North Island, South Island, and there's the Stewart Island. As much as I know, the only pretty much fertile land is the lower South Island. That's what I've noticed.
Is it fertile because they were less intensive, or is it geographically different?
Geographically different. There's not too much happening down there. That's the big difference, is where the North Island predominantly, through my observations, have been over farmed, over fertilized. I can travel throughout the North Island and see pretty much just dead land.
Oh man, that's I mean, I hear that. I know that. I know it's like the story of the earth right now, of just in general. Like, unfortunately, almost everywhere, like we're just so like industrially going at it. Some places still are productive, but there's not that health aspect to it. It's almost like how do yeah like dead, but still some areas are giving.
There is. I would say, to be honest, I would say only 10% are living land in New Zealand. Most of it is. We've had a lot of the hurricanes come through and decimated some of the east coast of the North Island. Quite a lot of erosion and flooding that's happened, especially at the beginning of the year. My garden took a whack in the beginning of the year, and I lost all of my crop. Corn, I had a whole corn. I'm just an urban type farmer, trying to regenerate. A lot of the challenges I have is surrounded by townhouses, which are 2-story townhouses. So the sun challenges to get on my backyard, let alone just to get in the house. The aim always is to head to rural. However, I haven't really seen where rural I want to be into regenerating rural land. A lot of our dairy farmers are selling off chunks of their land, but it's so dead and barren that there's so much work that has to be done on it. And I wouldn't say work. I mean, it would take time to regenerate. There's a lot of gorse right across.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Gorse. We have it on this island, largely up on our mountain. I live, on a 14,000-foot mountain. I'm down at 600 feet, where it's nice, but the upper part of the mountain, it was a combination of like overgrazing and then decimation of the environment that then the gorse takes over. And that
Yes.
stuff is so nasty. I mean, it's so sharp and you can't even walk through it. And it's just, however, they did just develop a project here as a feed mill to go up and harvest that gorse and then bring it down. And they're going to try and pelletize it into animal feed.
Oh,
But they kind of did it backwards in terms of they built this whole infrastructure to turn gorse into animal feed. And then it turns out, is it even nutritious for animals?
yeah. I wonder whether it is. I mean, being an invasive species, so to speak, I question whether it's going to be any good for animals. If it's not good for us, then how can it be good for animals? I'm sure there might be some nutritional value, but I don't really know to be sure.
Well, I think the whole key for this, Master Cho talks about it, and the whole key for basically anything to turn it into animal feeds is through fermentation. So by
Yes.
harvesting it, by getting it, by fermenting it, by enabling the microorganisms to get in there, to break it down, to ensile, lactobacillus. You can infuse it with fermented plant juices, those KNF foods, get those in there, get the microbes to grow. And then you end up with, something that would have been non-nutritious. Now the animals have this ability, like, especially if you're, pigs and cows, they can handle that. And I'm sure the sheep too, to a degree, you ferment that and feed them silage and things, and they would be into it.
And like you said, once it's fermented, obviously it has some nutritional value for that. But how would they, if fermented, feed that? Would it be liquid or would it be solid form? That's
Kind of a solid form to feed the animals. You're taking a large amount of material, and one key is if you can mechanically grind it to make it smaller and then let the
right.
fermentation happen, then you have it's almost like think of like you make a big pile of gorse and then make 10% of that like the IMO4. So you have the
Right.
microorganisms plus the soil, and that
Right.
goes in, and then they kind of you ever seen like when you pile up grass and stuff, it kind of gets this like mycelial, like turns into a mat where you can kind of pick it up. Like
Yes.
that microorganism growing within your food material in a pile will then do a transformation to it.
Right. Some of the discussions I've had in some of the other groups and other platforms, what saddens me is when they ask questions on how to deal with things, the first go-to is spray poison, spray synthetics. That's always the first go-to, and I've been trying to encourage them. You realize that it's actually poisonous for the plant, and then you want to feed yourself with these vegetables. A lot of people want a quick fix remedy rather than a long-term healing process.
So is that you're talking about the poisons, is that for like gorse control type of thing, or are you talking about other crops?
Other crops as well. A lot of people that have gardens and for themselves. I know I'm a part of a group that's probably It's got 250,000 followers in it. But
Wow.
every question that people ask, because they're new to gardening and they want to know what works. So a lot of the time, it's like, oh, I've got a problem with aphids, so to speak, is one of the quite invasive species here. But the first go-to someone says is, oh, you spray it with such and such. It's not a natural remedy. And then after that, someone else gives their concoction. Oh, if you use this fertilizer, most of it is synthetics. No one offers organic or natural fertilizers. And I find every time I'm offering something, people say, you don't know what you're talking about. We want it fixed and done straight away. And I say, yeah, that's fine. However, what you're trying to do is there are species underground that are going to be killed off that is not going to be valuable to your plants. So trying to re-educate people is a challenge in New Zealand.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I encounter that as well, as like where I'm at, if you go to like a gardening store or like a like grow shop type of thing,
Yes.
predominantly what's going to be there are these very highly concentrated chemicals
Yes.
and in a
Yes.
plethora of them. And if you
Yes.
ask somebody for advice, they're going to advise you to say, okay, this chemical, this one, this one, and
Yes.
very a lot of different products that are very specific to something, but also highly concentrated, where it's not focusing on the microbiome, and it's not focused on the holistic health. It's
Yes.
focused on like, okay, you have a copper deficiency, so you're going to put this on it.
Yes. A lot of people don't understand. When I'm still learning about the nutritional cycle of a plant, so to speak. And when people see probably their leaf or their foliage changing different colors, they automatically think, oh no, it's lacking in calcium. Oh no, we need some CalMag on it, and stuff like that. Rather than if they had started the nutritional cycle from the beginning, it wouldn't be sufficient in so many minerals or anything like that.
Right, and also using the fermented plant juice, the KNF food, because you're getting it from a plant, it's whole and it has everything that's necessary. And the thing is, like, if you're regularly applying that to your plant on, depends on what plant it is, but on a decent frequency, it's like
Yes,
eating whole foods,
yes,
and and then it's adding to robust health.
absolutely.
So have you seen that in your own experience? Because you've been following Korean natural farming for a while now, right?
For years, yes, for a while. I got introduced 8 years ago. A friend of mine sent me one of your posters of all of the core products. What am I talking about? From IMOs all the way through. And when he sent me that 8 years ago, I was thinking, what is this? What are we doing here? Okay. And he wouldn't respond. He allowed me to do my own research. So I come across a lot, I was thinking, what is this all about? I've only got a poster, and this is FPJ, and this is LAB, and all of that, but they weren't called that. Your poster was saying it differently. There was police, it was food, it was fuel, it was all of that. And that's what he sent me through email. And he goes, check this out. And then I struggled for 4 years to try and get my head around it. And I said, I don't really know what this is. So it took me on quite a good journey, to be honest. I had 4 years of trying to across Chris Trump first, when he was doing the how to LAB, how to WCA, and I started, oh, is that what this is? And got a more depth and detail about it. And then I eventually found you, and then I saw the poster that I was given actually came from you. And I was thinking, oh, this is a dude. Let me start following this dude. So I was able to make all of them in terms of all the fermentation. So it took me, I would say, a good 3 years to try and craft it properly, to understand it. But then I didn't know what to do with it after that, so to speak. I was struggling, and so how do I put this together? Where does it all fit? How am I supposed to? I've got these fertilizers. I know they're natural, and it's taken me at least 3 years to try and get the right way of. Well, I wouldn't say the right way, to be accustomed to be able to understand how to make fertilizers or fermented fruit juices and all of that stuff. I still didn't know how to apply it, so to speak. I lacked that knowledge until I until I came across the nutritional cycle of a plant. Then I began to understand where they fit in. I did watch a lot of your level 1 course. Yes, I did watch a lot of your level 1 and level 2 courses that you've done, and I started to understand. I had a greater understanding. And then I thought, oh, shucks, I should have made FAA first, because that's going to take forever to make. So I was going roundabout phase. I was thinking, I needed the FAA with the WCP, with the meat on the bone, so to speak, and all of that. So as my journey progressed, I started to really implement it into my own gardens and saw noticeable differences when I was preparing my garden, because I have a method. It's just, I do no dig, really. I don't dig any soil up, and I just cover it with compost. And noticing huge differences, because there was a lot of good bugs and bad bugs. Bugs were attracted to it. Whether in the past, I had no bugs come into my garden. It was just slugs. And I was thinking, why aren't the bugs around? There's got to be some good bugs around here. Why aren't they eating my plants? Only to realize that the synthetics I had been using in the past, they didn't like the taste of it, obviously. And now, it's not that I'm afraid of bugs or pests, so people say. I enjoy them coming in, because then I know that what they're eating on my corn, on my cabbage, on collies, and even carrots, some of the basic vegetables that I grow, I notice they were actually starting to eat the foliage. And I thought, oh no, hang on, there's too much of you. How do I manage that at the same time too? So what I did was I allowed one section of my garden to allow the bugs to deal with it, because they wouldn't move across. What I found is I'd deal with the pests in one section and then move to the next section of the garden. There was more food, and then move to the next section of the garden. They just kept on moving. I was thinking, what am I doing wrong here? So I decided to leave them be. I accepted the fact that a percentage of my garden is going to be overtaken by pests. But however, another percentage of my garden were thriving. They were actually thriving quite well. The only challenge we have across our nation is so many chemtrails come across us all the time. It's just constant. It's just a constant thing. And I know that has an effect on anything. So it's my question really is, how do we balance those chemicals coming from chemtrails that will eventually fall and anything else? How does IMOs or the like help balance all of that's falling down? That's really my question and challenge, is how do I counteract all these chemicals, all these airborne chemicals that come down and just land on gardens?
Oh yeah. Well, that's actually a global issue for all of us. And the thing is, you know, the the more robust your soil is, the more it can handle imbalances. So if there's some aerosol, where whatever it is coming down, it's gonna land. And if you have enough microorganisms and you have enough soil humus in the ground, then it acts as like a buffer. The more like biochar, carbon, humic acids, and what makes the humic acids are the fungal networks, the bacteria, all that working together. The kind of, are you familiar with the term soil food web?
Yes. I've been following her as well, Ingham.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Elaine kind of
Yes.
coined that term of kind of how there's, you know, I mean, lots of people have talked about this, but she really talks about that mesh, that kind of thing. And the
Mm.
more functioning that is, the more resilient it is to any type of aerosol coming down. You know, and
Right.
the thing about like the, you know, chemtrails and also, you know, just even airplanes burning fossil
Yes.
fuel at high altitude,
Yes.
they're
Yes.
ubiquitously putting these pollutions, these toxins into our upper atmosphere, which is a
Yes.
fully living ecosystem. Like there are microbes in the air.
Yes.
And so it's like we're poisoning, you know, like I've talked about this before, but just like, you know, if you turn on a car and you go in an enclosed space like in your garage and you leave your car
Yes.
on, people commit suicide that way. Like they die, you know.
Absolutely.
And so if we think of that and we're just like burning these things and putting these chemicals everywhere and into the air and it's landing on our soils, this is having the effect, you know, not only in tandem to folks like you know, putting chemical fertilizer on their field, but I think this is a contributing factor to why
Mm.
these other soils are dying,
Yes.
because they're not thinking about building this buffer. Right? They're not thinking
Mm.
about
Mm.
building this life. And then their chemicals are landing, plus these other chemicals are landing.
We have the challenge because we're in the flight path to the Auckland airport. So we have planes constantly coming across us, constant. Because I live in Auckland or South Auckland, where the Auckland airport is, and that's unfortunately we're in its flight path every day, all day. It's that on top of chemtrails, on top of everything else that's falling down. It's been a huge challenge to regenerate just the backyard in itself. So I'm just doing it in small patches. I have probably only got about 30 square meters of available light that reaches my backyard to grow any decent food. The rest is all shaded. That's the challenge I have.
Cool. Well, I mean, you know, you can grow tender, like shade tolerant plants, you know, you know,
Yes,
and
yes,
get those things going. But yeah, I think, you know, as you get your soil better, you know, it's just someone in here was asking, you know, about their sandy, high pH soils, you know, and so putting in the you know, the microbes anywhere, just anywhere and everywhere, and trying to regenerate this, trying to bring back that microbial life buffer.
mm,
um
mm.
you know, in earlier when you were mentioning, you know, you wanted to get more rural out, it's like, you know, what a better time than right now where people have dead soils,
Yes,
and it's like, oh, this is a wasteland. It's like, oh, well, then maybe you should lower the price a little bit because,
yes,
you know, it's dead anyway. And
yes.
if you have the natural farming tool set, this may be a perfect time for you to pick up some rural
Oh,
land.
absolutely. Well, we before COVID happened, we were rural, and unfortunately, mandates made me come back to urban living again. So a lot of us lost our jobs because of COVID, because of mandates and all of that. Because I come from a health sector profession, and my refusal to get the jab causes me and many others to lose our employment, our profession. So I had to change from what I used to do for many years to I eventually became a truck driver as well. So it really changed the landscape for me personally. Coming from rural, fresh air, a lot of good soil, and redeveloping on the west coast and in southern Waikato. Waikato was sort of like south from us, maybe 2-3 hours south of us. So everything changed since COVID for me and a lot of people globally at the same time too. And we were thriving rurally. We didn't rely on water because we had our own natural sources of water. So there was available water to really do something. But unfortunately, uh, things changed, and
Did
we're adapting.
did you you know, I mean, you know, New Zealand's huge, but you know, it's also an island. You know, and here I'm on Hawaii Island. Did you also have kind of like a food scare type of thing where
Absolutely. Yep.
y- y-
Absolutely. Especially in first stages of lockdown we were going through, there was only one place we could actually go to get food, and that was just ridiculous. The amount of people who were just lining up in queues after queues, and by the time you get into a supermarket, there was virtually nothing there. I had to try and depend on building a garden so we could sustain ourselves for vegetables, so to speak.
oh
That
man,
was a big challenge.
gives me chills, man. I just, yeah. So I have, there's an Airbnb guest thing, at our place right now, and she was talking to me about, just the food security. She went to some ag tech food securities thing on Oahu the other day, and just this idea of like, is there kind of like a renewed interest of folks wanting to put in more urban gardens like you're doing?
Yes, I mean I've noticed that change from a lot of networks that I come into, who want to go back to homesteading, who want to go back to natural methods, and all of that. Um, I'm heading to Wellington, which is the bottom of the North Island, to talk to some people about natural farming. They're into viticulture, permaculture. So there's a bunch of people down there that are interested, because it was just developing these friendships with them, and allowing them to understand, hey, have you heard about natural farming? They have in a sense, but they don't really know about natural farming, or Korean natural farming, so to speak. What they don't know is, it's not what they don't know. It's more or less, they're more face to face. They don't actually just go online and do their own research. It's about how can they do it practically, rather than just go online and immerse themselves in a lot of research like I did, which I like anyway. They're more practical people. They want to say hands-on. How do we do this? Come down and show us how to do this. I say, look, I'm not one to train you how to do this. I just sharing my experiences with it over the past, coming up to 9 years actually, of understanding it.
Cool.
What I'm challenged by is I'm always having trouble with IMOs. That's always the thing that goes right and it doesn't go right. That's been my challenge. IMOs has been my challenge to maintain around that, because I don't have the space at home to be able to do it. It's always been my challenge making IMO. I can only, well, when I tried it and I got it and I thought, okay, I don't have shelter to combine this all together. I would need to build a shack at the back, but I don't have space for a shack. so that's an ongoing challenge for me.
Well, I'm looking forward to you coming here to visit to learn,
Oh,
because if you're already establishing these networks, I mean, it's gonna be crucial, because
yes,
yeah, like learning online, learning those things, but seeing, smelling, tasting, doing,
yes,
immersing, getting into this is like,
yes,
and then when you go back, then you have these networks, and now you're gonna be able to connect with all these folks and be like, hey, look, you know like, let's do this, and let's
yes,
make it happen, and have that like confidence, that like, and as you say, those other folks are hands on, right? So you can be this conduit to be like, come on over, or go down there and be like, let's do this.
yes, absolutely. That's why I'm looking forward to coming over. It would solidify things that are known and have learned over the years. It would give credit to when I'm speaking into a group of people. Hey, I learned this in Hawaii with Drake. Here's my certification to say I can actually train you to train people eventually. That's been my goal and motivation. I do have a capitalist view. I'd like to monetize it, absolutely, without a doubt. And knowing how the solutions mix together in certain stages of a plant's growth, and putting that into a, actually, can I just show you something? Give me a second, I'll show you something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, while he's out and away here, you know, I guess maybe he should hear this, but there's I was So just want to want to just like on that thing of like saying, capitalistic make the thing. I like there's this kind of idea around natural farming that it should be like this thing of poverty and people should just do it
Yeah.
for free. And Master Cho, every time we'd visit him, he'd always go to the farmers and he'd say, how much money are you making? And they'd kind of blush and they'd be like shy, and they're like, I'm making a lot of money. And it's like that's one thing about natural farming, and I don't think these other folks realize this, is that once you learn this, it's going to save you thousands. Like if you're already farming, it's going to save you thousands and thousands of dollars to switch to natural. You're going to get, it's like building your wealth. You're going to get better. And then sharing this
Yes.
and making a living to like do it. It's totally, it's where it's at.
It is. So I was in the development stages of trying to do things, and then I come up with packaging.
Cool.
So I wanted to get it out there to
Yes.
people.
Yes.
In this form, so they're able to do their own measurements. And in the back, I've got all the information on how to do it.
Yes.
So that was been my
Yes.
development, especially in the last 2 years. And then I got to a point where, hang on, I need to be certified to do this.
Yeah.
I need to have some recognition that it's not just all me around that. I need to give credit back to what I've learned over the years and who I want to be involved with. So I made a lot of these little bottles. They're only 500 ml bottles, knowing that these concoctions, solutions, so to speak, they can last forever. So I didn't want to give them huge amounts and thinking I wouldn't have any return customers from that perspective.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you got. I mean, some people need a lot of it, but
Yes.
matching the scale to the customer, and then something like that. Like I always think that like, the cool thing about natural farming is that you're not trying to like hide or proprietary the thing. You're actually, what you're doing is you're making it easier and more accessible for people. And it's like here, go if you want to make your own, go for it. But if you want to buy it
Yes.
from me, I'll get you high quality, really good stuff, and it's immediately available. And that's like the whole thing behind this is just like that's so cool for me to see that you're out doing this, and like that's the mission. There's another guy. There's another guy in the chat. His Ishmael family, or Ishmael's farm. He's inspired by Daniel Quinn's book, but his name's Daniel, and he's also doing that here in Hawaii. And he took my class last year, I reckon, or might have been early this year, but he's doing the same thing of like trying to make this available to farmers and trying to make these blends. And it's like because like you said, you go to the grocery store, or you go to the store and it's like chemicals, or you go get advice online, it's like chemicals. And or if
Yes.
you say a solution to someone, you're like, oh, this, but you got to learn how to make it, and people are just like, oh, can't you just, but if you're like, hey, try this and here it is, and you give this to someone and just like, just try it, and then their garden kicks, but it's like, yes, now you're going to get people that are going to be like into it. And that's how you're going to make the change.
Of course, absolutely. I'm enjoying the journey, to be honest. I really am. And finding you has really motivated me more to share the message in New Zealand, particularly. There are pockets of people that do natural farming, but I find they're gatekeepers to that information rather than spreading the message. So I wanted to do it. What I am, not want. I'm going to do it on a bigger scale right throughout New Zealand. That's my mission. I really enjoyed the IMO baths that I saw with Master Cho. I really love that concept. I didn't even realize that could happen until I came across that video on YouTube, and I was thinking, wow, because we have a lot of elderly folk that would benefit from that, and that was my sort of like vision of looking that way. A lot of the things I want to do is to help farmers transition to natural farming. And I've got a couple of farmers who are keen to have a chat, but I've had to step back and thinking, actually, what if they ask for my qualifications? What do you know about this, other than just a whole 8 years of research and practice and application?
Well, yeah, well, but your enthusiasm and the proof is in the pudding, and like you can show people, and like like there. I mean, there's a lot to it of like what is, what makes you, um, like like I can just see it from you. Like I'd trust you, man. Look at you. I mean, look how much
Oh, I
joy
love
this
it.
brings.
I'm so passionate about this. I'm passionate about the philosophy is about healing more than anything. That's what I'm passionate about. We're healing the soil, we're healing the plants, we're healing the animals, we're healing ourselves, and especially we're healing our oceans because of the creep that goes into our oceans. That's what I'm really passionate about trying to balance that out. And I know that Korea Natural Farming Solutions is that solution. I know that for a fact. A lot of my research tells me that's true.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all based on nature, and it's kind of just putting the pieces in the right place and enabling nature to, like if nature it's like, like nature's trying to bake a cake and it doesn't have an ingredient, then it has to go find it somewhere else and make it. But if we put all the ingredients out, then nature is like the master, like, chef to put all the ingredients. So that's what I find to be natural farming, like those analogs, to understand that idea of like put the pieces in place and nature will just slide along. It's like it's not like saying
Yes.
to make nature like go over here or do anything faster or better. Nature's already, it's
Mm,
just putting the pieces there so that we get this regeneration. And yeah, yeah.
absolutely. It's been my goal to adapt or to help people transition completely. I mean, it's a long-term goal, but that's been my goal. And I know in the next 3 years I would make an impact, especially from now on, for that throughout all of New Zealand. So, and my goal is to spread that message. That's my goal. Obviously, monetize it on the way too, because people want to buy this product. I do belong to a cannabis community at the same time too, and I'm concerned about the synthetics they use and say, "Oh, we've got your medicine for you." And I say, "Hang on, you're using synthetics. How can you say that's medicine?" So that in itself is my passion at the same time too, because they all want to extract to make pure medicine from it. But I say, how is it pure when you're using synthetics? How is it truly? Oh, we flush it. I was thinking, yeah, but to a point, the synthetics is in there. How can you actually tell it's all natural medicine? Because you're giving this to people who depend on it.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
well,
you want a natural way of growing this?
are you familiar with the plant secondary metabolites?
No, never heard of that term.
So that's where a lot of the so a lot of like let me like in a real elementary sense, like the NPK makes the plant itself, okay?
Yes.
And if you're working with medicinal cannabis, you'll have a plant there, but it's the plant secondary metabolites that are all of these CBDs, CBGs,
Yes.
THCs, these different things. Those are the plant secondary metabolites.
Oh,
And
okay. I
it's
gotcha.
only once your basics are there that then the plant can develop the secondary plant metabolites, and that's where the medicinal quality comes in. It's not the main plant. It's these subtle other things that only develop once it's there. And yeah,
Right.
someone's saying terpenes here. Those are those things that give the flavor, the aroma, these different and all those flavor aroma are indicating
Yes.
better health and so
Yes.
if you're using something for medicine but itself isn't healthy, like
Yes.
like it breaks the link, right? And so understanding this and understanding like natural farming puts out more secondary plant metabolites in everything from apples to broccoli to cannabis to anything. It puts the medicine back in our food.
Yes. 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 Definitely. And I grow myself, and I've noticed the difference from switching from synthetics to natural. Quite a huge difference. Phenomenal difference in flavor and smells, the aromas. It was quite phenomenal when I switched over 2 years ago, thinking that, oh no, I can use synthetics because it's going to help me grow faster. And then because it's illegal in our country still, we're sort of underground growers ourselves. At the same time, too, it's still medicinal. for myself and my family personally. So, but we get these labels. Oh, you're just a stoner. I was like, no, I'm not using THC. I'm using CBD. What are you on about? There's no psychoactive aspects in CBD, CBG, all of that. I understand all of that. I try not to say too much about it because the fear of being persecuted, the fear of being arrested, all of that is quite a huge fear in our country. We did have a vote in the last election on making it legal. So only 49% of the population voted yes and 51 voted no. So that referendum was taken off the table. However, the portrayal of cannabis was dark ages. That was promoted more than the benefits of it. So it's still an ongoing challenge. We still try and walk that walk and saying, hey, this belongs for some of us in our society, maybe not for a lot of people. So that challenge is still ongoing. My encouragement to many of the friends that I know that are growers, legacy growers, is to say, look, try this product. I will send you some down, give it a go, and let me know what you think. So a couple of them have tried it out, and they're expecting big, huge crops. I say, no. It's not about that. It's about transitioning from synthetics to that.
Yeah, I one of my friends, Logan, he's a medicinal grower, and it's just there's no difference. Like, I've noticed, like, yeah, I just, and like the thing, I kind of joke about this because like, if you have a great tomato, it's good, and you're like, oh, it's a good tomato. But you're not like several weeks or several months later, you're not like, oh, I just had the best tomato, but if you have a good smoke, and then you're like it's unforgettable. You're like, oh, that. And I find that through the natural farming with the cannabis, it's like one of those things where you're like, oh, like it's memorable. It's like it's so much more because your body is such complex, and it's these plant secondary metabolites that are activating all these things in your body. And it's the same for any plant, anything. The more you do, the more you like brighten up, the more it's just like your whole life is activated, because you're like, we as humans, we crave the subtleties of the plant, not the macro. The macro, like, is but
Yes.
it's the micros. And so having a little bit of goodness is better than a whole bunch of junk, is my my thought.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm really encouraged by finding you many years ago and really walking this journey, and it's really motivated me more to actually get out there, network with people with a lot of walks of life, different gardeners, maybe not so many types of gardeners, but encouraging them to, if you're spraying something, why don't you use this spray? Why don't you make a concoction of FPJ, some other concoctions in there, and start spraying? I found that one time I made too much, and I was thinking, I'm not going to use this all at once. So I started pouring it out down the drain because I had so much of it. But the only purpose I poured it down the drain was because there was just too much. I was giving it away, and then I still had too much. FPJ, I had too much FFJ. So I thought, oh no, if I pour it down the drain, it's going to make its way eventually to the ocean. That was my idea about it. That's the reason. So I made quite a lot of solutions, and I thought, I'm not going to use this all at once. It's just going to stay in there, and I'm never going to make any more. I just had far too much. Far too much, actually.
Well, you gotta
get some of them turned to vinegar, especially the WCP was just like, I was like, oh no, it's gone off. So because I couldn't use it in time, I just had a small backyard. I was thinking, why did I make so much? I should have just taken my time.
Yeah, we got to get you. You're gonna be famous. People are gonna be hitting you up, man. And then you got to get a sprayer for your car. My truck, I got it hooked up, this little 12-volt thing that runs right off my the car battery, and it sprays. So everywhere I'm driving, I'm just inoculating the world, man.
I I tried to walk around my walks around the neighborhood with a spray bottle, and I was just spraying every plant I was going past. And I thought, oh, hang on, people might think I'm poisoning them. You know, they wouldn't know I'm actually spraying natural things in there. So I sort of, oh, I better stop that practice.
No, people stop me all the time for doing that, and I'm like, you know what? It's I just it's a great learning opportunity to tell them a little bit about Korean natural farming. Just like, no,
Right.
like, that's not poison. This and usually I'll just spray it right in my mouth and be like, yeah.
That's the difference I notice, is that we can consume it ourselves. Because I always tell my friends, you know, the stuff that you put on your plants, can you actually consume that? And they say, oh, no, it's poisonous. I say, so why would you put it on your plants then?
Yeah, if
You
you're
know,
gonna eat it, if you're gonna consume it, it's like, what, like, where, the disconnect of it's like I don't know that to me once I found Korean natural farming, it seems like you as well. It's like there's no turning back. There's
oh,
only
there
there's
isn't.
only
I've been
going
gardening
forward.
since I was a child. My
Yeah.
dad got me to dig gardens as a 5-year-old, and that's where my passion came from. Although I didn't like digging the gardens, however, from that learning, 50 years later, I grew passionate about gardening, quite passionate about gardening, and then wanted to try finding a method that was healthy. And then Korean natural farming came along. I said, oh, this is it. I found it. I don't need to go searching anymore. There's nothing else that compares to this, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. 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 Well, so I'm gonna wrap up here, but
Okay,
I
cool.
just want to ask you one more question, and what advice would you give to folks kind of just starting out, if they just found Korean natural farming, what advice would you give to them?
Hmm. I'm trying not to go down the track that I went down. Far too much research and not application. So for me, it's starting with the basics, getting understanding with the very basics of FPJ, and getting an understanding of brown rice vinegar. I'd probably get them down to the nitty basics of trying to figure out, what does this do? What is the fermentation process that this helps your plant, your soil? Is I can't articulate what I would say, but I would give them the real basics of what benefits natural farming has, not only in their gardens, but in their life, holistically in their life.
Mm.
That's how I would start off a conversation anyway. These are the benefits I've found through my experiences. My experiences is to start slowly, having an opportunity to understand what it is that you're putting on plants or in your soil or in yourself. Is the only advice that I'd give to you is just really give it at a basic level, so they ask more questions rather than give them answers. People like to ask questions. I don't like to give them answers. I say I'll give them something to start off with. They would still trying to figure out internally, transitioning from, like you said, NPK. Or where's the NPK in this? How do you know where's NPK in this? And I think, actually, everything in FPJ is all you're saying, but I don't know how to articulate that to you yet. Hence the reason why I want to come over, to have that knowledge, to be able to articulate to people and explain better. For me, it's just being basic. Keep it simple, short, and let them come back for more questions. Then I can sell them my products if they still don't understand.
Yeah. Get them into the
Well,
good
not
things.
my products, our products, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah. Well, I think actually, having that, getting them basic, and having them to be able to walk away with some usable thing, and they will um get there much quicker. Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, it's
Cool.
great talking to you. I'm glad we actually have a chance to speak face to face rather than just typing a message out, say, hey, how you doing, buddy? And my email's getting lost in the ether somewhere.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah, great to talk with you, Willie, and looking forward to it. And we'll see next week. If you got more questions or want to jump in, we'll see. I try and get on with Tinfoil Hat Man. One thing I want to get into with folks is to also, I didn't really get to it too much today, but I want to find out, like, what other influences and what other kind of, on your natural farming journey, like how, who else in this world, this regenerative world of like finding solutions, because that's really what I want to impart to people is like, look, there's this, and there's all these tool sets, and there's all these folks, and so I'm sure you got more, but we'll leave that as a cliffhanger for next time.
Absolutely. Great to talk to you, Jack. Drake.
Okay.
Sorry. Great to talk.
Yeah. Okay, Willie.
care.
Well, I'm gonna sign off here, and just thanks everyone for tuning in, and hope you enjoy Korean Natural Farming office hours. So yeah, Pure KNF Foundation here, Master Cho, making it all happen. Really appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed today's conversation with Willie and I. And if you want to be part of the, you want to share and be, get into this, let me know. You can send me an email, Drake, DRAKE, at pureknf.org. And we'll get into it. And yeah, really appreciate all you guys tuning in. So I think I'm gonna hit leave here, and I'll see what happens. I haven't really ended on StreamYard very, very quickly, but I appreciate you guys. Till next week. Aloha. Long live the natural farmer. Bye now. Let's see. End the broadcast. Yes. Bye.